guys, what is going on? Blossom is back, and welcome back to the episode of Garage Review, and the last Garage Review of 2023. Now, I've not posted Garage Review videos in quite some time, and I think the main reason for that is because I have been struggling to give constructive advice. Now, let me explain. Before we get into today's video, it's a fantastic little garage, 490 IQ, not 500 just yet, but a couple of legendaries, max cars here and there. I have been struggling to give constructive advice for garage reviews, and that's why I've not been posting as many, and that's because the game has, I won't want to say evolved, it has moved in some sort of lateral direction, where it is a lot different playing top drives now than it was a couple of years ago. So usually when I do a garage review video, the main kind of two questions that I ask is, how do you want to play the game? What do you want to prioritize? Do you want to go for the collector route, where you go for cars that you love, or do you want to go for the competitive route, where you want to go for a Tri-Series prize car after Tri-Series prize car, or wherever the future of this game is going, GT Series prize car after GT Series prize car? Now, the fun thing about asking that question back in the day for garage reviews was, no matter which way you picked, at some point, those two roads are going to intersect. Let's say that you're specializing in Italian cars. For this person's garage over here, he specializes in Italian cars. So let's say that you specialize in Italian cars and you want to go the collector route. If you collect Italian cars literally for months and months and months religiously, eventually you're going to feel the fruit of that labor. Not only from that self kind of, pride of collecting cars that you enjoy, but somewhere down the line there'll be a Tri-Series where it is going to be majority Italian cars, and because you've only been religiously collecting Italian cars, you will find yourself in a situation where you might be in a good position to win a Tri-Series or GT Series or any kind of legendary prize car. But the way Top Drives is working now is that because every single prize car is tied to whatever update is coming, whatever update is new, let's say that this guy wanted to do Italian cars. He spends months and months religiously collecting Italian cars, but it wouldn't matter because right now we're living in the era of mostly British and French cars in this update, right? So every single Tri-Series prize car is going to be clinging on to that new update hype. So he won't be able to get any new prize car because he's doing Italian cars, not the new ENW British and French stuff. Let's say there's an Italian update that comes in the future. Maybe the next update or the update after that is an Italian update. It's not like the Italian cars that he's collected now will help him in the future, because those next prize cars that come in this figurative Italian brand new update will only require the Italian cars from the new update that isn't even here yet. And every other Italian car that he's been collecting is basically going to be obsolete. You see what I'm going with this? So it's going to be really hard. These roads don't intersect anymore. And that's why it's really tough for me to do garage reviews. Or maybe that's why I've kind of been procrastinating on that. Because I really feel like, wow, it's really tough to give good advice now. But the real thing is this. You gotta ask yourself two questions when you're a brand new player, not even 500 RQ. Where do you want to go? Do you want to go for GT series, or do you want to go for a collection purpose? It now seems like whichever path you choose is going to be not even strategical anymore. It's going to be very obvious. If you want to go for prize cars, you're literally only going to be collecting and upgrading new stuff. If you want to go for stuff that you like, you're literally only going to be collecting and upgrading things that you like. But those roads are not going to intersect. If you go the collecting route, don't expect to win a lot of legendary prize cars at all. Not even anytime soon, but at all. And if you are going for, just Tri-Series prize cars, if you're going for the chase, don't expect to collect cars that you like. So it's kind of stressful, to be honest. But let's talk about this garage today, okay? With 490 RQ, shout out to Dago. This is Dago's garage. Thank you so much for being a Martini tier Patreon. Now, let me give you a little bit of kind of a backstory for this garage, okay? So Dago here, he started playing since May this year. So basically 6 to 7 months, something like that. That's the 5th month, and 12 months in the year, 7 months, something like that, right? His dream prize is the Sonderrevolution. Okay, so the good news is that the Sonderrevolution is not a first-time prize card. Like, it's been given out before. So I feel like if the Sonderrevolution ever comes back, it's a better chance where it won't be tied towards a brand new update. Usually those brand new update GT series and Tri Series cars are always tied towards the brand new update. But you know, for rerun cars, they might come in like a legendary challenge or like just some bonus side quests for a, you know, that was really weird. Like when they brought back the SCG and the Huracan Performante, there was like that side challenge thing, that side quest challenge thing where you could just win another high-end prize car. Gosh, to think that that was an entire Tri-Series for a Huracan Performante in the day, and now Hutch is just giving it out like, you know, like a side mission. It's really disrespectful, to be honest, in my opinion. But anyways, Dream Prize cars, Zona Prevolution. Favorite brands include Lotus, Di Tommaso, Peugeot, and Pagani. He's like a hybrid. You know, Dago is like a hybrid of like Clarkson and Brazen. His favorite country is Italy, and his favorite tags are Coupe and Roadster. He spent money about once or twice this game. He started playing in May. He doesn't play clubs too much, but he participates in a lot of events. So here's the key thing for you, Dago. You don't play in a lot of clubs, but you participate in a lot of events. So when it really comes to kind of telling you what cars to upgrade, I can't really go for the Blossom choices, because if you go for the Blossom choices, I mean, yeah, they're good options, but if you're not going to play clubs, you're not going to get the most out of them. And if you have limited resources and you can only upgrade like a certain handful of cars, you know, per week, let's say, then if you're going for events, it's better to just upgrade the cars for those events if that is all you play. There's no point upgrading Blossom choice cars, but you can't use them only in clubs. But you can only use them in clubs, but you don't play clubs. You get what I mean? So let's have a look at his garage. Now, he did record this backwards from common to legendary, so I'm gonna have to click it ever so often. Maybe we can start from like the top of common, and then we'll just click play. So, oh yeah, the music, we're gonna turn that down. That top drive music, I'm bring it down over here. It is swimming pretty fast. I mean, to be fair, there are some really cool stuff here. Maxed out Lotus 7, right? Barracuda, Morgan EV3, Monte Carlo. Those are all like ex-Blossom choice cars. Really, really nice. Point Firebird, Mazda, Laputa, and of course, for a lot of you guys, you connoisseurs out there, I would say, he also has a maxed out BMW Isetta, which is nice to see, and a 2-star Citroen Army, which I believe will be max very soon. Now, let's move on to his uncommon collection over here. It's a very clean collection. Now, here's the thing, right? If you play clubs, then obviously I would highly recommend using the Mazda Tenza over here, because it's a pretty good Japanese medium ground clearance car. Not as good, though, as the Nissan Leaf, which I think you should finish first at 323. That should be 6.084 when that is done. I want to see, actually, how many 2-stars you got. If the Leaf, or whatever that Nissan is the only 2-star, means that he's working one car at a time, which is pretty cool to see. Another car that would be pretty nice to upgrade, honestly, would be the Mazda Daimyo Racing, mainly because it's a relatively new car. It's APGP, so you might still be able to get some use out of that. There's a brand new one, right? The Citroen DS23. I do have it fully upgraded. I have it 332 drag spec. It's not going to make much of an impact in my garage, and honestly for you, even though you're quite brand new, I don't think it's going to make much of an impact in your garage as well. But yeah, I don't know what the best tune for that car is, to be honest. I went 332 for like a challenge, and that was about it. I knew that I was never going to use it ever again. And yeah, so moving on to the rares now, and then obviously it goes without saying, you know, Dago, since you are an Italian collector, go for the Italian cars. Upgrade the Italian cars that you have. Never forget where your passions are. If you have a question on the Alpine GTA V6, I will go drag spec on the first one, and then I would go 233. Oh no, not sorry, but 323 on the second one. One thing to note about the Alpine GTA V6 is that when it comes to the French meta for rare cars, even with the brand new update, still the best car for the drag, still the best car for the fast circuit within that French niche. 323 on the fast, and then obviously 332 for the rest of the drags. So if you want to get a duplicate, I would recommend the Alpine GTA, but again, you would get the most use out of that car in clubs. I don't know how much use you would get out of that in multiplayer events. Really, multiplayer events, you're kind of like, it's tough. It's tough because if you're focusing on multiplayer events and you're a brand new player, you don't have a lot of cars, like it's gonna be tough because you're gonna be moving from a set of 5 cars to a set of 5 cars that are usually completely different. At least in clubs, like cars can overlap each other. Like, you know, the Alpine GTA, not only can you use it in French events, you can also use it in 90s events and rear-wheel drive events and petrol events. But when it comes to multiplayer events, like the live ones against actual people, it's basically 5 unique cars after 5 unique cars. You use an Alpine once in a multiplayer event, you don't know when you're ever going to use it again. But nevertheless, that's going to be a pretty good car to invest in. One thing that I find quite surprising surprising actually is the Mitsubishi Triton Absolute, completely stock. I'm gonna assume that that's new, but yeah, it is quite shocking to see that there's a bunch of fully upgraded cars around it, but not the Triton. And I would say out of the 10 cars that I see here, the Triton is definitely the one that's probably gonna get you the most value, maybe. The Electric Shadow Edition Mini Cooper is also really good. The Mazda MX-5 is really good as well, but I think the Triton is going to be one of those super useful cars. Nice to see the Opel Manta and the Opel GT fully upgraded. Yeah, that's a really good one as well. The Mazda MX-30, I'm actually currently maxing that out. It took me forever to get that. So yeah, I mean, if you really want to go for prize cars, if prize cars is really what you want to be going for, I know I just said the 2 sentences with the same complete meaning, but I just worded them differently, but I just didn't know what to think about. Then yeah, I guess, you know, upgrading things like that Skoda Octavia might bring you some value. Honestly, Dago and anyone that's watching right now with a relatively new garage, I think if you want to get the most out of the game, not the most out of your passion, but the most out of the game in terms of awards and challenges and that kind of stuff, the easiest thing to do is actually upgrade the brand new stuff. So the Citroen SM Michelin bread van was so useful in this most recent GT series. If you can get that 332, it will save you, honestly. So that's a fantastic car to get. The Ford Puma is also a really good one. 84 handling when you max out 323. So if you really want to go chasing for whatever challenges come up, little ceramic packs, little carbon fibers, GT series, all that kind of stuff, it's pretty pedestrian for what you want to go for, especially when it gives out advice. When I give out advice, just go for the new stuff, right? So if you want to go for the new stuff, Citroen SM 332, Ford Puma 323, and then everything else here is basically kind of irrelevant now. So yeah, bread van's a huge one though. I'm really happy to see you having that. I've never unpacked a bread van before, and I actually had to suffer a lot in the GT series without the bread van. I had to basically compromise without that, and the bread van was such a great bargain in that challenge. Moving on to super rares now. The Alpha 164. Oh god, I don't know if that car is even worth the upgrades anymore. It's Amalfi Coast Cruising. It's Amalfi Coast Cruising, too old of an update. It's been over a year. Oh man, it's so stupid that we have to make this conversation. A car is a year old and we're already thinking if we're ever going to use it again. But it is an Italian four-wheel drive car, and you don't have a lot of four-wheel drive medium ground clearance cars from what I can see over here, so that might be a nice little decent representation. It's a saloon as well, so in saloon events that might look pretty good for you. Well, actually, talking about medium ground clearance four-wheel drive, he has the Mitsubishi Galant, but the Alpha has 90 handling. So in the more twisty stuff, I think you owning the Alpha and the Galant will go hand in hand together. Ooh, now this is a tough one. This is a tough one for a lot of you more advanced players watching this video. The Renault Sport Clio Cup car, to max or not to max? Fantastic French car, absolutely fantastic French car, right? It handles incredibly well. It will get you so much value in clubs, but it's not World Expo and above. It's an old car. It's from French Renaissance. Like, when was the last time we actually used that in a multiplayer event? So like, think about it this way. Diego is a player that only really focuses on multiplayer events. I don't think, as good as the Renault Clio Cup car is, it isn't really a priority to max because Hutch doesn't utilize older cars anymore, right? So that's a pretty interesting one. One thing for sure, Dago, when you're watching this, is keep the Renault Sport. Don't fuse it away. But I just don't think it is a car that you need to upgrade so quickly. This is a pretty interesting one. This is a 233 Caterham 7160. You can tell that from the 87 handling. If you can get a second one, I would recommend going the 323 route. Some other things that would be relatively useful for you to upgrade would be the Mitsubishi Raider Baja. It's still relatively useful and still competitive in the snow compared to the Cactus from ENW. So I would say the Raider Baja is the car to go for. I know you're currently working on your Renault R20, but I feel like you might get a little bit more value in your Mitsubishi Raider Baja. The Lancia Fulvia is pretty good as well. Nice to see, once again, that a lot of your cars in your garage, super rares, are fully upgraded. Especially, like, I mean, come on, man, your RQ 490, you're not even at the highest level of the game. But I gotta be honest, Dago, this is a very impressive garage. It is clean. It is very clean. I like what I see. I love that 560 SEC. It's just a shame that you're probably never gonna use it for anything. These are OG Blossom choices, right? The Stagia, the i3S a long time ago, the Miura P. Yeah, great cars that we're probably never gonna use again. And shout out for the Charger. We love that. Again, probably not gonna use it that often, but we love to see that. All right, moving on to the bread and butter of the high-end garage. Let's look at the ultra rares. This is where I can really start getting cutthroat and saying what you can fuse away, what you can keep. Keep 306 maxis. Like, even if you don't play clubs, just keep 306 maxis, please. I think the fact that you have 3 of them basically says that that car is gonna be really, really useful. Now, the Subaru Legacy B4, I mean, it's not going to be that useful. Because it's before World Expo, so basically like you're just gonna get more value outright from the Mazda 626 in my opinion compared to the Subaru, mainly because although these two cars are very similar to before wheel drive, and I believe that they're both medium ground clearance, the Subaru definitely is medium. I'm pretty sure the 626 is also medium. You're just gonna get more value out of the 626 because it's just a newer car. I can't remember the last time we actually had a JPT event for anything. So if you really feel like you need to fuse some stuff away, I would actually get rid of the Subaru. I don't think we'll ever use it anytime soon. Watch like one event in the future make us use it. But there was that ×5 Subaru event that happened. I don't know if you get it, Dago, because RQ500, but there was a ×5 Subaru event that ended recently, like literally yesterday. Nobody was using that Subaru anyway, so you're not missing out on anything if you fuse it away. The Jaguar XKR 75 actually a pretty good car to have in your collection. I would go with drag spec 332 on that. BMW 530 is garbage. Don't even bother upgrading that anytime soon. AMG A55 is a pretty cool car. It used to be epic back in the day, but again, it's not a brand new car, so you're probably not gonna get a lot of value out of it. And that's basically the same story for all the cars I'm seeing over here, whether it's the Trailblazer or the Alpha Auto Delta or the Tuscan convertible. One car that I could definitely recommend for you though, Dago, is that Volvo EX30 single motor. It is a fantastic hairpin ultra rare. I would probably put that Volvo at the top of the ultra rares you want to upgrade because it's new and it's also good. It's going to get you value, and you get you value early right now. So the EX30 is one car that you can definitely look at. The Bizzarini Barchetta, like I just maxed it out. It is a very niche car, only for 60 events. A lot of people have been wondering, how would you upgrade the Barchetta? It's an interesting one. I went 233 for mine, and that's because most people with the Maserati 250F is going to beat the Barchetta. They're within that same regular niche, but the Maserati is far better because it has the MRA. It is the dragster. A lot of people are kind of torn between 332 and 233 on the Bizzarini, mainly because it has a really low 0 to 60, so they don't know if they want to utilize that, but it has 67 MRA, right? So honestly, I went 233 on it. You obviously can choose what you want to do, but I would recommend 233. The other cars I would fuse away, honestly, would be like the Maserati Levante Diesel, the Roof R56, the Donkerford D8, the Ford FPV, honestly, even the Cadillac XLR. The Cadillac XLR is only really useful if you play clubs. If you don't play clubs, there's no point keeping it around. Other cars I would fuse away if you had the heart to, because I know these cars have 1 stars, the BMW X5, the Lincoln Continental Concept. These are 2 cars that are pretty disposable. Even the Camaro is pretty disposable, mainly because they're just old. It's sad, but that's kind of just what the meta is. If you want to be super competitive and you want to upgrade epics, and these are cars that you can think about going, getting rid of. Even things like the older Volvos, like the V90s and stuff, they all got handling cuts during the time of ENW, which is just a shame. Some other cars that you could definitely get rid of would be the things like the Saturn Vue. That thing is completely useless. I forgot that car was in the game. The BMW M3 convertible, the Lincoln Navigator, the Fiat Seicento, if you didn't have that as a super rare. These are all cars you can get rid of. But then again, you are an Italian collector, so you might want to keep the Seicento around. You might want to keep the Maserati Spider around as well. But there is some fuse material lying around here that you can definitely play around with. In terms of Italian cars that you want to max, like if you want to max things in terms of your passion, the Di Tommaso Pantera GT5, I can't believe I'm actually saying that, but like that is a car that I'm actually recommending for you to upgrade, mainly because it's a medium ground clearance Italian car. There are not a lot of medium ground clearance Italian cars. I think the only ones that you have is that and the Auto Delta. So you can finish the Auto Delta and then move on to the Pantera, which has that older 90s niche or 80s, 80s niche, 89. So that's one thing to consider as well. Another car that you could consider if you want to follow your passion is to go for the Di Tommaso Guara. The Di Tommaso Guara is a fantastic RQ60 in my opinion. It's like the Italian version of the Lotus 340R. Don't expect it to get you much value in events. But if you are a huge fan of Italian cars, and Di Tommaso is one of your favorite brands, That and the Pantera could be cars that you can consider in the future as well. It's just that, keep in mind when you're upgrading those cars, just remember that it's probably not going to provide you as much value as you would hope. They're still good though. They're still very good. Now moving on to epics. It's nice to say that you upgraded the Exige 430. I hope that is 233. I can't remember what the 233 and the 323 top speed difference is. I want to say that's 233. I hope it is. Some other good cars for you to kind of focus on. I mean, there isn't much of Italian here. There is the Pagani Honda C12, but it is a mid-range epic, and it won't bring you a lot of value. The Ford Bronco R is actually a very good one to invest in. It's a car that I use a lot. It is one of the best handling American four-wheel drive off-roaders. 84, when you max it out, that's pretty damn good. And basically everything at the bottom over here, you can fuse away. Like, if you want to upgrade a Legendary, bro, I get rid of the X2, the GMC, the Holden Commodore, the Nissan Patrol, the Lotus 265, the Porsche 911, the Spiker, literally all those 65s, all those Jerrys. That's a lot of Jerrys that you got. I mean, how many 65s do you have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? Is that 7? 7 65s. How many 79s do you have? 1. And don't blame yourself for that. The game just has so many more Jerrys than anything else. But honestly speaking, bro, most of your epics are kind of mediocre. The best one is the Exige. The second best is the Bronco. And by the upgrades, the amount of upgrades that you have, I know that you know this, so that's also really cool to see. I know Peugeot and Pagani are also among your favorite cars. Oh yeah, Lotus is your favorite too, so yeah, maybe you can keep that 265 that I mentioned earlier. I know Pagani is among one of your favorite cars, so the C12 would be a car that you could probably really consider heavily if you want to. But once again, it would just be a passion project if you decide to upgrade that. I think one thing that you need to decide, especially as a newer player, is to really think if you want to be more of a collector or more of a chaser. If you're going for a chaser, I wouldn't really touch anything until you find out what the requirements are for the next challenge, whether it's a legendary prize car or just a couple of carbon fibers and ceramics. If you want to go for the collection, man, then the Pagani is honestly the way to go. In terms of legendaries, the best legendary that you got is the Porsche 911 Turbo S, but I honestly don't think it's even worth upgrading. It's new, it's entered the Black Forest, so it's relatively new. But I don't think anything else is really, honestly, you can get value out of the GT90, mainly because it's basically like the cheap man's Koenigsegg. It's got a really good MRA, it's got a really high top speed, and I wouldn't mind putting it up against like a Regera. I think it would lose by maybe at most 90, maybe more. I don't know. Regeras are incredibly OP, but against some of the lighter Koenigsegg's, like maybe the CCXR, for example, the GT90 would give it a run for its money. Maybe lose by 50 or something like that. So the GT90 honestly is, I would say, out of every legendary you have, the GT90 is the car, the legendary that has withstood the test of time the best. That's not to say that you should upgrade it. But yeah, you do have some epic foods lying around. I would keep it lying around, to be honest. But it's a really nice collection. 5 legendaries, and you're not even at RQ 500. I think you know what you're doing. Like a lot of the best cars in your garage are already fully upgraded, and I think the main thing to really double down on before I can help you further is to really figure out what kind of player do you want to be. What is your main priority? Do you want to take a couple months off chasing Tri-Series and just focusing on upgrading cars that you like, or do you want to just go for Tri-Series right now? Another thing that you could probably try and do, because your garage, and you need to come into terms with this, your garage is in no position to win any Tri-Series prize car, unless you spend a lot of money. So what you could do is upgrade the high-end stuff out of your passion project, like the Pagani, for example. But when it comes to the low-end stuff, you can still upgrade the new cars, like your Skodas and your Volvos and your Peugeots and all that kind of stuff, right? So the lower-end stuff are all the brand new cars, which will probably help you in challenges, at least in the first couple stages of a challenge. And then the higher end stuff, you can just upgrade things you like. So that's another way to kind of go around adapting to the game in these kind of days. But anyway, guys, that's going to be it for today. So, Dago, thank you so much for sending your garage in. It was nice and refreshing to do a garage review once again. Once again, if you guys want a garage review, you can always join the Patreon down below, not as a free member. I don't know when Patreon started doing that, but I will not do garage reviews for those. I don't have time for that, to be completely honest. But if you want to do a garage review, let me know down in the comments below. The game is always changing. Don't want to use the word evolving. I don't think that'll be the right word to use. So yeah, the way that I would have to give advice for garage viewers are going to be slightly different from what they were in the past as well. But anyway, guys, that's going to be it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Remember to stay safe, wash your hands, and blossom out. Peace.
Bro, this song just makes me so happy.
Me too.
Imagine being Asian in the 50s, looking nifty, leather jacket, looking sleek, look like Presley, look so deadly. Got a jukebox back at home, feeling jazzy, turn it on and play it slow, like the movies with the ladies.
They so fine.
Imagine being Asian in the 50s, looking nifty, leather jacket, looking sleek, look like Presley, look so deadly. Got a jukebox back at home, feeling jazzy, turn it on and play it slow, like the movies with the ladies.
They so fine.
Sit back, relax in my Bonneville
Pontiac.
Hold tight all night, cruise to Jacksonville
Atlantic.
Blonde hair, don't care, look like